better than I could have imagined. You dream and you hope that things will work out okay. They certainly are. It's time, like everybody saying. Come on, you got good knees. Everybody look to your left, look to your right, look behind you, look in front of you. I wanted to recognize all of our distinguished guests today, and you just saw them. Have a seat. Before I bring up our next presentation, things are moving along just fine. Is the food okay? Everybody good? I appreciate it. Before I bring up our next guest, I want to pontificate a little bit. So, on or about 1990, I can't go a day without people saying, Lee, swimming teacher. So, people from out of town, I'm a pretty well-known swimming teacher here. So I used to teach at the Stars Complex, and we had great days over there. And every Saturday, I'm in there working with the kids, volunteering and so on. I had never really befriended a police officer. And here comes Johnny Streets walking onto the pool deck on Saturday morning. All these little black kids being taught to swim, and he just standing there. So he eventually came over and introduced himself to me. And he said, what are you doing? Who are you? Who are you? I mean, I wasn't famous then. He goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm just teaching kids to swim. And I said I was volunteering and everything was going really well. He said, man, this is great. Anything I can do to help out. He was standing in his police uniform, and that's what's called community policing. Remember that, Johnny?
Yes,
and
I
then I found out he was a sergeant and all of that. Then he said, well, what's next? I said, well, we're going to have graduation for the kids from beginner swimming next week and so on and so forth. Can I help with that? And I said, sure, come. You can be a part. You can be the graduation speaker and all of that. So he came and we had graduation at the pool, and there Johnny Streets was right there giving the kids certificates and taking pictures and just being a great community servant. And from that point on, he and I became very good friends. And what was so beautiful about it is the circle of life that my good friend Joe North tells me about. Johnny and I stayed friends for many years. In fact, I hosted the debate on my TV show many years later when he ran for city council, and he was debating on Lee Pitts Live with the late, great Veronica Shoemaker, which was a historic thing when he became a city councilman. You guys know we go back that far. Give him my hand. And Shoemaker. Well, it was so great that when we were trying to, every year Joe and I sit around and try to say who we're going to honor for Black History Month. And you know, Johnny Streets is always a hard person to get to come out and be a part of all this pomp and circumstance. He's just so humble and all of that. So the first time Johnny turned me down, a couple, 3 years ago, he turned me down. I'm like, man, come on, Johnny. I'm Lee Pitts, man. You come? Oh, Lee, man, wait until I'm out of office. Wait until I'm out of office. Johnny's so humble. So we just waited patiently, and everything happens in God's time, doesn't it? Yes. And here he is now, and being celebrated tonight in a way that we would never forget. Speaking of celebration, we have a historic individual here who will come up and make some comments about him as well. One of my best friends, he's the senator of Dunbar. If you want to get elected in Fort Myers for anything, you got to go through the senator. You got to ride down Joe North Boulevard, Joe North Way. We actually have a street named after him. Thanks again to Councilman Johnny Streets for working that through the system. He was born and raised in Dunbar. He is Dunbar. He is the epitome of Dunbar. Well, not probably, but the most beloved figure in the history of Fort Myers, certainly in Dunbar. That would be one Attorney Joe North. In his early days, he credited his career and he focused his energy upon making his parents proud. His parents were his role models and his North Star. His whole goal was to make them pleased with him, and he's done an outstanding job. Sort of reminds me of Cedric the Entertainer. Everybody likes Joe North. You can't find a person who doesn't like Cedric the Entertainer. very modest man. His parents, James North, his dad sitting right there. Hey, Uncle James. And his late mother, Jeannie North, who we know that she's looking down on how good her son has done and made her proud. Joe is one of the best attorneys in the world. He practices accidents, negligent security cases, personal injuries. He's been doing it for over 35 years with no scandals. You know how you do it, Joe? I don't have any dirt on you. I've been around you all those years. I don't even have any dirt on you. Joe and I met about 36 years ago, and we've been friends ever since, because people used to get us mixed up when I was working downtown at the bank. Those people know about those days. And if you look at us, we kind of look alike a little bit, but he was the handsome one. He's the handsome one. And we walk around and go to lunch, and people would be calling me Joe North. I had on a suit and everything. I was the vice president at Wells Fargo Bank. And then he would be walking around downtown. He was working at the law firm. People would be calling him Lee Pitts. We hadn't met. So one day we were in a pizzeria downtown, and I saw him standing in line. I said, well, that's a handsome young man right there. Kind of looks like me. I said, that must be Joe North. He said, you must be Lee Pitts. I said, yeah, people keep calling me Joe North. And we became friends ever since. And then Joe said, well, why don't we just start having power lunches? Remember that, Joe? We used to go to the veranda. Let's go have power lunches, Lee, once a month. We go to the veranda and have our power lunch, and we just discussed our future and everything. And I didn't know he was going to grow up and become Joe North and all of that. Started his own firm, and I started seeing him on billboards and buses riding through the community. Go Joe, go Joe. And then I made a little bit of something out of myself. So it's my pleasure to introduce my best friend, attorney, the Senator Joe Dunbar, Attorney Joe North.
Good evening, everybody. That is a true story about how Lee and I met many, many years ago in the shadows of the Honorable Johnny Streets. All right. So I've got a question for everybody. Who in the room is 57 years old or younger? Raise your hand. That's a lot of people. I see my wife raising her name, but I'm not going to say anything. The reason I mentioned 57 is because, first, that's a long time. That's almost 6 decades. But that's how much time Johnny Streets has given us his public service. And for that, we thank you, sir. So I stopped by to share with you for a couple of minutes what my relationship is with Johnny Streets. I refer to him as Uncle Johnny, and I refer to him as Uncle Johnny from my heart. In fact, Lee and I both refer to you as Uncle Johnny because you look at us as your nephews. And it's not by biology, but it's just by relationships and how you've handled us and treated us. But I know that you've got a lot of family here from near and far, and I'm just going to take a moment and ask Johnny Streets' family to stand up, please. So yes, Johnny Streets is not my biological uncle, but he has been an elder and a mentor to me and to Lee for more than 3 decades. And in fact, when I look around this room, I'd venture to say that Johnny Streets is really everybody's uncle. I hear it, yeah. And it's because he knows everybody and he looks out after everybody. He exemplifies what it means to be an uncle. Because an uncle is a person who what? Shows up. Who watches over the neighborhood and watches over the community. An uncle is someone who speaks up when something's not right. And who speaks wisdom when things get confusing. Somebody who checks in on you. And I know he's checked on me over the years. And you know, my childhood home is in Ward 2, his ward. And my dad still lives there. And I can tell you that it means something to us that Johnny Streets has set foot in the yard and in the house. Because you don't always see that by those who are serving you. But he knows what he needs to do in service because he's been there front and center. And again, we thank you for that, sir, for being near to us. But an uncle is also someone who gives advice, whether you've asked for it or not, and most of the time when you needed it the most. He's someone who reminds you of where you come from, but also nudges you towards where you're going. So tonight, we honor someone who doesn't just live among us, but a man who looks out for us, who has helped hold the fabric of our community together with character, care, and commitment. And that's why we refer to you as our Uncle Johnny. And as I'm standing here, I'm remembering an interview that you did for television back in 2019 during Black History Month, when you were asked about the importance of having Black History Month. And you said, we as African Americans did not set out looking to make history. We just wanted to make a contribution to make our lives better and then to make the lives of others better. That sums up Johnny Streets. And while never forgetting his roots, he is, always has been, and always will be a man for the community, a man for everybody. So I'm honored to call you Uncle Johnny. And you know, once you have that title, you have that title for life. And it's for all of those reasons that we're gathered here tonight to honor you and to celebrate you, because even though you have retired from law enforcement, and even though you have retired from the city council, you will never retire from us. You're with us forever. So please put your hands together and help me welcome your uncle and mine, Mr. Johnny Streets.